26. Like there isn't enough for me right now.
Man.
There isn't enough ammunition that Aiyuk has to combat what the Niners are showing us that they value, are showing us how they see him. And they still love it. I mean, $26 million ain't chump change. But they're telling him and telling us, I believe, that he is what he put on Twitter at the beginning of this offseason, the fourth option. The fourth option in a run-first offense. Brandon Aiyuk has uttered those words through social media. And he's laid these little breadcrumbs of, I'm not taking this or I'm not giving into that.
Or I'm not sharing. I shouldn't have to share my... Well, you are right now, buddy.
Well, let me ask you this. Yeah. Should Christian McCaffrey have to share?
Pops was in the Navy 30 years, is ranked, and he shouldn't have to.
If
the way this offense is ran is Christian McCaffrey-centric, he shouldn't have to, Evan.
If Trent Williams does want a restructuring to his deal, should he have to share?
Give me that blank paper, Trent, and we'll give me the number, and we'll oblige.
And the reason why Trent Williams may or may not be disgruntled with his current contract is because he's currently the fourth highest paid tackle in football.
Right.
He's an 11-time All-Pro. This guy might be one of the, if not the best left tackles in the history of football. So right now, he's also someone that I believe has more leverage than Brandon Aiyuk.
Man, Evan.
He can hold retirement over the San Francisco 49ers. He can say, if you don't pay me, I can literally walk away.
Try replacing me.
And there's one thing that the Niners have not been drafting very high in regards to the first and second round picks. It's offensive linemen.
Yeah.
They haven't spent money or invested assets in the offensive line the way that they've invested in their skill position players or specifically their defense. And the Niners also might be saying, look, Aiyuk, we want to pay you this. We want to keep you, but we want to keep you at this number. And you asking for an extra $4 million might be the difference in a future negotiation with another player we also want to keep. And so I think Aiyuk wants to be in San Francisco. Like you were running the trade hypothetical for, say, like with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Or if there's another team, I don't know.
Steelers.
Baltimore. Yeah, Steelers, Baltimore. I'm sure he'd be featured a lot more in those offenses than he is here in San Francisco in regards to target volume. But how much does he want to win?
Man, and I think we're going to find out, Evan.
Because I think that where is best for him, for that goal, there's unquestionably San Francisco.
No doubt about it. But again, it's styles, it's self-production or thresholds that he has, on a personal standpoint. And Evan, I'm just keeping it real. These guys know what's going on. They know what others are doing. And I always talk about just worry about what's going on in your house. But at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. And I'm looking at Aiyuk, just in the Super Bowl, he had 6 targets, 3 for 49 yards is what he caught. I never looked at him or Debo like you had a bad Super Bowl. I was just like, why was it quiet on the set? And we talked to Matt Barrows about it and Larry, and he was talking about, tip your cap to the Chiefs defense. Bottom line, Evan, is this needs to get resolved, I think, sooner than later. And if it doesn't, that will let us know why Ricky Pearsall's name was called on draft night, not given a red shirt to a first-round pick when we don't know how open or closed this window is. It's Operation Get Back. But for them to do what I thought was, okay, Jennings might not be here, but for them you just talked about it, sign Jennings and you still go get a receiver, how can that not be a possible replacement for BA if this doesn't get fixed?
It could plug any one of these holes in what didn't appear to be a sinking ship at the beginning of the offseason. And now you're looking around and you're wondering, well, why'd they make that move? Or why'd they pay this guy first? Or why'd they go out and draft that player? There's just a lot of things that I believe are interesting and, frankly, revealing about where the 49ers are at in regards to their, quote, number one focus this offseason was inking Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, that's all anyone talked about at the end of the season, going into the offseason. What do the Niners need to do? Well, obviously, they need to remain competitive. They'll address this in the draft. They'll address that. They might make a couple signings here and there. Leonard Floyd, for example. They're going to kind of trim the hedges. I mean, they were in an overtime game in the Super Bowl. They're not that far away. But that's also predicated on keeping Brandon Aiyuk in the fold. And it just feels to me, and I'll ask this again, 888-957-9570. Evan Giddings in for Matt Steinmetz with Daryl the Guru Johnson. Of the last 3 big negotiations that the 49ers have had. Deebo Samuel 2 summers ago, Nick Bosa last summer. Does this feel more tense? Does it feel more contentious than those other 2 negotiations? Brandon Aiyuk. Because I feel like it does. And I feel like it does because unlike those other 2, I do think that there is a possibility that Brandon Aiyuk is not a 49er this season. I never felt like Deebo was not going to be a Niner. I never felt like Nick Bosa was not going to be a Niner. It was just a matter of when those deals were going to get done. Brandon Aiyuk, I do think there is a possibility that he's not on the team this upcoming season. I hope it's not the case, but there appears to be a long distance or distance in general between the team and the player.
And I didn't see that, Evan. I didn't see it coming. I just knew. I knew 100% in my heart that Brandon Aiyuk was going to be here. We got the Deebo sound of him saying, I know what time it is. And you wonder if no Aiyuk, what this does for or solidify Deebo's future. Because I feel like if there's no Aiyuk, Deebo's going to be here for multiple years. When I went into this season thinking Deebo, and he kind of alluded to it, I know what time it is. This might be my last hoorah with the 49ers, the red and gold. But this is interesting. We'll see, what happens. And I'll say this. The last time I referred to the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame event I went to with Bonte, the great John Taylor wanted to see, and he says he talks to Kyle, more of 85 in the passing game. But he's put up numbers. I just think Kittle can do more if allowed, but you do wonder if Kyle's went to the lab and, a guy like me is just sitting there talking about, well, is Ricky Pearsall to replace possible Brandon Aiyuk's production? But what if it's team-wide? What if it was half of Pearsall and more targets or more utilization for George Kittle in the passing game? Kyle could be like, you know what, John? We can get past this. We can make that up. And right now it just feels that way that the org is saying, hey, this is as far as we're willing to go. And if it costs you and we got to break up, so be it.
Well, I think this is an interesting point from the 510 on the Xfinity Mobile text line. Evan, they drafted 2 wide receivers as insurance. The Christian McCaffrey and Juwan Jennings extensions went because they weren't asking for more than they're worth. So Brandon Aiyuk, it sounds like, according to the 510, is asking for more than he's worth. And that's been the whole discussion this offseason of how much he is worth. I think that's where he's trying to figure out where he fits in. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Too Short, like you said earlier, Goo. Get in where you fit in. Well, where does he fit in? Because
I think he knows they don't feel like that's where he fits in at that cost.
But isn't that a problem? Like you're not on the same page with your team?
It's a big problem, E. And I think it's why nothing has been done. You know what I mean? There's a gap. And shout out Denham. Yeah, that's my old story back in the day. Berkeley.
Spadona giving you a 2 back there. Definitely, that's a 3 on a Monday.
Thank you.
That's not bad off the top. But TJ Houshmandzadeh also had something interesting, I thought, on Willard and Dibbs last week, which is about the length of time. Because, they didn't sign Deebo until July. It took, until almost week 1 with Bosa. Well, what about Aiyuk?
It's disheartening, man, because as a player, you just want to get what you feel you've earned. That's all it is. And when you feel you're worth this and they're offering you that, obviously that's the case because that's why he hadn't shown up yet. It's disheartening. And then it starts to make you angry. I went through this as a player. It starts to make you angry. And so hopefully this can be resolved sooner than later because the longer this goes on, it's just a lot of animosity on the player's side. It just pisses you off. And when you get paid, you're happy about it, but you're still kind of angry about damn, they really don't think I'm that good.
Or they don't think you're Amon-Ra St. Brown level good.
Wow.
But during the cut, Carter got in my ear. I thought you had something really interesting. Carter, would you like to share what went through your mind listening to that?
Yeah, I was just saying that I think that maybe because the Niners are so loaded with offensive weapons, he might not be worth more than $26 million to the 49ers, but he might easily be worth $30 million to another team, as we were speaking at the break, to the Chargers. Who knows?
And if you think that, Carter, and Evan said 26 wouldn't suffice, he knows that. And for the people thinking we're chasing the smoke and driving by the fire, Evan, that was on the text line. That's a friend. That's a mentor to Brandon Aiyuk. He led that soundbite with, it's disheartening. Like right now, that's how Brandon Aiyuk has to be feeling. It's not, I'll go on vacation, Cabo, chill. It's all good. We'll get to it, Goo. It's disheartening. And Larry asked me this, hit me like a bag of bricks Friday, Evan. He said, Goo, you got an agent? I told him no, but I always thought the agent was the buffer. So if you did ended up getting the money at a later date, who's the animosity towards? Would it be, you know what I mean? If you got your chicken and you got your number, I would just ask TJ, well, why would there be any animosity? Because it was a little lengthy? Well, let me tell you when Bosa came to right before week 1. I can tell you when Debo got his. This is how the Niners do business. So on that front, just from a calendar perspective, I feel like there's nothing to see here, but he's speaking for Brandon. Brandon's speaking for him on IG. I don't want to share. I kind of didn't. I'm like, you ain't Trent or McCaffrey to put that up because I feel like it didn't resonate with the org. And then for him to say, TJ to say disheartening, I feel like that's coming from the horse's mouth.
It could be. And I think right now, if you're Aiyuk, you're also trying to figure out, all right, how long is this thing going to go? Because it might go as long as Debo, might go as long as Bosa, might get done shorter. I just feel like, and I do agree with Hushmanzada that if they wanted to give Brandon Aiyuk an Amon-Ra St. Brown contract, that he would be at minicamp, or would have been at minicamp last week.
Wow.
That they wouldn't be in a position to figure out whether or not they were going to find him or not. But how are you reading the tea leaves of Brandon Aiyuk after a report that he received $26 million per year? That's the offer on the table right now, reportedly from the San Francisco 49ers. There's also whispers that Trent Williams might want to rework his deal. Does he become more of an instant priority? Is 26 a fair value for Brandon Aiyuk? Is it too much? Is it too